The Corporation for Public Broadcasting, CPB, the federally chartered nonprofit that has supported PBS, NPR, and more than 1,500 public media stations for nearly 6 decades, has been ordered to shut down following a congressional vote to rescind its funding, marking the most direct attack on public media in U.S. history. The shutdown order comes 3 months after President Donald Trump signed an executive order cutting off all CPB-related funding, and just weeks after Congress passed a $9 billion rescission package that included the full removal of CPB's $1.1 billion allocation for fiscal years 2026 and 2027. This is not just about budget numbers, this is about silencing independent journalism and public voices, said Catherine Marr, CEO of NPR. Millions of Americans rely on public media, not only for cultural and educational programming but for critical emergency communication in underserved communities. The Trump administration has repeatedly claimed that NPR and PBS operate with a liberal bias and misuse taxpayer money. In a statement earlier this year, the White House called the decision a necessary correction to end taxpayer subsidization of politically motivated media organizations. But public media leaders, legal experts, and First Amendment advocates argue that the shutdown violates the Public Broadcasting Act of 1967, which was specifically designed to insulate CPB from political interference. Lawsuits have already been filed by NPR, PBS, and multiple state public broadcasting associations, claiming that the executive order and defunding actions are unconstitutional. This is a clear violation of editorial independence, said Paula Kerger, president and CEO of PBS. We are not partisan, we are public. Though the CPB employs fewer than 100 people, it channels federal support to over 1,500 public radio and television stations across the U.S., especially in rural and tribal communities where no other local journalism exists. With CPB now defunded, stations in those areas face immediate risk of closure. For some, federal funding accounts for more than 40% of their operating budgets. Without CPB, many stations simply won't survive, said Aaron Moran, general manager of Wyoming PBS. We're looking at a news and information blackout in huge portions of the country. The CPB has begun notifying employees of layoffs effective September 30th. A small transition team will remain through January 2026 to handle licensing, royalty agreements, and final obligations. The lawsuits against the administration argue that the shutdown order violates both due process and the First Amendment. Targeting media outlets for perceived political slights and then pulling their funding is authoritarian behavior, said Jamil Jaffer, executive director of the Knight First Amendment Institute at Columbia University. This is not a matter of budget tightening, this is retaliation. So far, courts have not issued any injunctions to stop the shutdown. Oral arguments in the lead suit filed by NPR are expected to begin in the D.C. Circuit Court in early September. Even before the defunding, NPR received only about 1% of its budget from CPB. PBS received about 15%. But for smaller member stations, especially those in Alaska, Mississippi, Montana, and the Dakotas, CPB dollars were the lifeblood of local reporting, emergency broadcasting, and educational programming. Losing CPB means losing our ability to serve our communities, said Tom Axtell, general manager of Vegas PBS. This is a quiet tragedy for democracy. Public broadcasting leaders are now scrambling to explore new revenue models, such as increased individual donations, streaming partnerships, and philanthropic grants, but acknowledge that no private source can fully replace the scale and reliability of CPB's funding. Still, many vow to fight on. This may be the end of federal support, said Marr. But it will not be the end of public media.